Have you ever been driving with your Logitech G29 steering wheel and thought, wow, I really wish this looked more like a race car steering wheel and less like a child's toy? I know I have. That's why I got this. This is the MVH Studios GT wheel rim for the Logitech G29. Today we're going to be installing this on my G29 wheelbase, and I'm going to be letting you know how I like it. I've actually been waiting for this for a little while now. These are in pretty high demand from MVH Studios, so I was on the waiting list for about 2 months before I actually got this delivered to me here in the United States. They ship from the UK, and this cost me about $50 US without the optional suede grips. So today we're going to break this down into a couple of sections. First, we're going to install it onto the wheelbase. I'm going to let you know how difficult that is. Then we're going to put it on the play seat challenge that I've got set up here in my living room. And then I'm going to compare it a little bit to this stock wheel rim. The thing that I'm most concerned about with this is the button placement and the ability to press the buttons. It does fit into the existing button housing for the G29, so I'm wondering how ergonomic it's going to be to use all of the buttons and especially the D-pad on the G29 wheel. All right, let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to do this uninterrupted. I'm going to film the whole process of me installing this onto the G29 wheelbase, and we are going to speed the video up so that you can see exactly how straightforward this is going to be for me. So I have watched the tutorial YouTube video, and that is it. I have also already installed the MVH Studios magnetic shifter paddles, so I'm already pretty familiar with how to take this wheel apart. But let's get started and see how tricky it is. Something else to note is we are going to be wearing these gloves for a lot of this. Like I mentioned, we did get the optional suede grips, and for any of you who know anything about suede, it doesn't really like moisture all that much, and human hands are pretty moist and oily. So in order to protect the suede so that we can increase the life, I'm going to be wearing my -273 karting gloves that I also use when I'm in my sim, just like I said, to protect the longevity of the wheel. Okay, I got my laptop set up. We're going to start the build. Let's go. So my first tip on the install is you are going to need a very small screwdriver with a very long neck, because you got to get the screwdriver under the wheel in a lot of weird places to get these tiny little screws undone. And that's really the hardest part. Once those screws are undone, there isn't a whole lot of hard work left to do. You don't need to take the base of the wheel off, this piece that I'm messing with now. You only need to do that if you're going to mess with the shifters, and I had installed my magnetic shifters previously. So I was just checking on those and adjusting those a little bit. But then the button box from the G29 comes right off and slots right onto the MVH wheel. One tip that I do have that he does not mention in the install video is once you have got that button box unscrewed, do not turn it over, because all of the screws that hold the buttons in are no longer in, and all of those buttons will fall all over the place and explode onto the table. The first time I did one of these MVH mods, that happened to me. Okay, I think it's done, guys. I think we did it. I think we finished it. It wasn't the easiest thing in the world, but it wasn't super hard either. I will let you know I'm not great at this kind of thing. So I figured it'd be a good representation of what you guys would do, because I am at or below average at assembling stuff. So if I can do it, I'm pretty confident that any of you can do it. But let's just get a good feel. Let's get our first grab. Wow, it feels great. I'm really impressed with these buttons. The G29 has these little buttons, and I personally think they suck and never use them because they're hard to find. But this makes these 4 buttons super usable. And just my first impression is this feels really nice. All right, why don't we put this on the play seat and give it a drive? I'll let you know how it feels, but so far I'm pretty excited. I'm really happy with how this is looking so far. Okay, so my first impressions driving with the wheel are really great. It's super solid. It feels really rigid. And it fills your hands up really nice. It feels a lot more substantial in your hands. As you can see, the first thing I tried out was iRacing. I did a few laps of the Skippy around the Nürburgring, and the wheel feels really, really solid. You know, iRacing has a lighter force feedback than a lot of games do, so it's good to be able to test out, you know, the resolution of how it feels, and it felt really great. After that, we moved to Assetto Corsa, and we did a couple of races in Assetto Corsa. This is racing the Lotus Exos 125 around Spa, and this wheel feels great. The most important note is definitely the usability of those 4 additional buttons. Those buttons are so much easier to find and easier to press. They feel really tactile and really nice, and the wheel works really, really well. You can see one of the benefits of this wheel, and the reason that I bought this over the MVH F1 rim, is that I race pretty close to my TV screen. If you race in a situation like this where your wheel is actually in front of part of your TV, this is a really, really nice wheel because, as you can see, the top is cut out, so you can see through that whole area that would normally have a wheel on it. Now, a con to this is if you do a lot of drifting or something like that, there's no quick release, so there's no easy swapping back to that round wheel. Okay, so in closing, I think it's pretty fantastic. I really like it. I like the way it feels in my hands. The buttons are much more usable now than they were before. It doesn't actually increase the performance of the G29 at all, of course. Yes, the rim is arguably a little lighter, and that reduces the rotational mass of the wheel. But if you are using a G29, you probably don't care about rotational mass of your sim wheel. So that probably doesn't matter. All in all, $50, is it worth it? Yes. Is it worth it with the suede grips? Not if you are not going to take care of them. You really need to wear gloves every single time you use them, or these suede grips will get really, really nasty really fast. So save yourself a little money maybe, no suede grips, but I love them. I think they look great and they feel really good with the gloves on. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video and you got any value from this review, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And I'll see you next week. We do videos every Wednesday. Thanks.